is up, everyone? Welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be doing week 15, week 16 NFL Power Rankings, where we are in this week now, and things are, very interesting. There is only 8 teams eliminated. We're on the last 2 weeks right now. This is week 17. Week 17. But only 2 teams are eliminated at the moment, so it is pretty crazy what is going on right now. A lot of teams are still in the hunt, but teams that are eliminated are going to be these first 8 teams on this list. Anyway, let's get into this. Starting with the number 32 team, which will be easily the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jacksonville Jaguars staying at the same spot up to this week. They're 2-13. Urban Meyer firing. It was just a disaster there. Hopefully, they can figure things out. They get the number 1 pick unless they win and the Lions lose out. But, it's looking like they're going to get that number 1 pick. And I think this Jaguars team, they have a lot of work to do. They apparently are looking into some head coaches right now, which is good for Jaguars, but they got a lot of work they need to work on. So, Jaguars sitting at number 32. Number 31, I'm going to go New York at 4-11. Going to be dropping down 3 spots. That'll wrap up this trash tier. The Giants, I don't even think I've ranked this Giants team below the Jets team all season. But without Daniel Jones, this team is just trash. They're not competitive at all. They just are really bad, and I think it might be time for a firing, and things need to be shaked up this offseason for the Giants. Are they going to roll with Daniel Jones for another season? Probably not the smartest move, but it might be the case for next year. Anyway, let's move on to this next tier in the bad tier. It's going to start up with the number 30 team, which is the New York Jets. Yep, the Jets are above. Oh, wait, no, sorry, not the Jets, sorry. The Texans. Sorry about that, everyone. But anyway, the Texans, yes, they are above the Giants and are in this bad tier. So, Texans, they're going to be jumping up a spot from actually a couple weeks ago, Giants dropped down 3 spots. I don't even know if I mentioned that, but anyway, Texans got a huge upset against the Chargers. Big time upset. That was a big win for them. But 4-11 right now. It's off-season time for this Texans. We actually like their staff. I think they got a good future there. I think they're, with this very bad roster here in Houston, they are competing. They got 4 wins on the season, which is really impressive, as I thought this team might be like 0-17, the first team to go like that. So this is very similar to the Lions. The Texans are. I do think the Lions are a little bit better. Anyway, let's move on to number 29, which will be the Jets. Sorry, popped them up earlier, but the Jets are going to jump up a spot. Zach Wilson, I feel like he's getting better and better. That was a good run by him last week. He's getting better and better. This team's developing. The defense is playing, decent. You expect more out of that group with the defensive-minded head coach, but they're good, I think. I think at number 29, that's where they belong. They're competitive. That's why they're in the bad tier, but they're not very good. I think they're decently head coached. So, and Zach Wilson, the good thing is that he's getting better. So this team should be able to have a better season next season. And number 28, we're going to have the Detroit Lions. Detroit Lions, man, this rebuild might be faster than you all think for Detroit. It was looking like this team could take like 5 years plus till this team is a good team, but they're 2-12-1. This is a great staff. Their defensive coordinator and Campbell, the head coach. This is a good staff here in Detroit. This is a very bad roster here. You're taking Jared Goff, and he is playing like a good quarterback. We saw that upset against the Cardinals, one of the biggest upsets. I know their record might not stand apart. You're like, what the heck are they doing at number 27 about these 4-win teams? But this team's, I think, is going to be legit. I think if they have a good free agency, I think they'll have a good draft. This team, I think, could pick up some speed next season and be, some of, at least a 6-win team next year, because this team had a lot of competitive games. This is a bad team this year. I think this team's going to get better and better each year. And it's a bright future there in Detroit, I'll be honest. Detroit fans, not really able to say that for a long time, but it is. Anyway, number 27, I think, will be the Carolina Panthers. Carolina, man, 5-10. Like, what the heck? This offense is atrocious. Cam Newton, he is playing bad. I mean, his first game, that was pretty good. That was impressive, actually. The last few games have been horrible. I mean, this team is just not good enough to, this offense is just atrocious. You got to play at least decent offense. This is probably the worst offense in the NFL, maybe. I mean, I think so. This defense can play at top 10. It's time, I think, to fire their head coach. The Joe Brady firing was just bad. I don't know why they did that. But Panthers at number 27, I think that's where they're going to stay for now. They'll stay there. But this team, they've got a lot of questions. I mean, I can't rank them below the Lions and the Jets and the Texans because this defense is too talented. And this team has a future, but Cam Newton, it's just not a good team right now. They got a lot of problems that they're going to have to figure out for next free agency. And then that'll wrap up the bad tier. We're going to move on to this decent tier. I'm going to start out with the Bears. I'm going to just put up the two teams, Bears and Seahawks. They just played this week. Bears won by a point. So let's talk about the Bears first, dropping down a spot. And a lot of you guys are going to probably be thinking, you know what? Why are the Bears below Seattle? And I think there's an explanation for this. Russell Wilson not playing the best, but it's in a snowy game. That kind of elevates towards the Bears. And Seattle really was playing like the better team all season long until that last, all game long, until that, last 4 minutes in that game. So, I think that has a big thing to do with it. I think Seattle played like the better team, and I think they are the better team, but it's not by much. The Bears gutsy call, go for two. It worked out, and Russell Wilson and the Seahawks offense couldn't do anything else with it. So, let's focus on the Bears. I mean, that game literally saved Nagy's job for one more week. One more loss, he might be gone. He might even be fired this week. We don't know. It's just he is literally the margin for error here with Matt Nagy. I mean, it is very thin, paper thin, less than paper thin. I mean, he's gonna be gone. He's gonna be gone definitely by the end of the year. Higher expectations such the year. I've been higher on these two teams, the Bears and the Seahawks, all season long than a lot of people. But yeah, this is where they fall. And Seattle at number 25. They got a lot of questions to do in free agency. They're going to have a lot to figure out. Russell Wilson, is he gone? Is Pete Carroll gone? Are they going to, what are they going to do? And they got a lot of salary cap over there. I think this team can either go full out rebuild or they can be a top team next season if Russell Wilson can elevate, play better, play like his top 5 quarterback talent that he is. But I don't know. It depends on what this franchise is going to want to go to. But I think Seattle going to be dropping down 8 spots into that decent tier. That's where they'll sit. And then we're going to move on to this in the hunt tier where we're going to have the Washington team. Washington football team right there. I think this Washington football team, got pummeled by the Cowboys. The reason why they're in this hunt tier, they're not eliminated yet. So I think if you're not eliminated, you should be considered in the hunt at this point on with 2 weeks left. But, they're going to need a lot of things to go right. Their season basically over after that loss but there's still that chance. Washington is going to be dropping down 2 spots. The only thing they put up no fight. The only fighting that happened was on their bench. if you know what I mean. But anyway, Washington will stay put at number 24. Number 23, I think the Falcons going to jump up 3 spots. Right here, Falcons at number 23. They're 6-9, not a bad team. And they're 6-9. If someone's gonna play a team in the playoffs, they're gonna want the Falcons because that Falcons team. Wait, is this team 6-9 or did I rank this record wrong? No, sorry, they're 7-8. Sorry about that, everyone. Yeah, right. Yeah, 7-8. But yeah, the Falcons anyway, 7-8, gonna be jumping up 3 spots. The Falcons, if you're gonna play them in the playoffs, is this team gonna compete? I think they're gonna get blown out by a ton against 2 seed like the Bucks or the Packers or someone or the Cowboys or the Rams or anybody. This Falcons team you want to play in the playoffs, I think. So if they sneak in, I think that's gonna be a gift to a 2 seed. But the Falcons, it's been an easy schedule. That's why I think they're this good. I still think they're not a very good team at number 23. Anyway, let's move on to number 22. That'll be the Saints, jumping up a spot. You come off a great win against the Bucks, a team that, really the Bucks, the only team that they match up well against. The Bucks don't match up well against is the Saints. They're able to get Tom Brady. They're able to get into his head. We know that him throwing that laptop, but then go play Miami and get blown out 20-3. 7-8. I don't think this team's going to make the playoffs. I think it's over for them. But it's nice to see that this team is playing decent. And I think they're going to be a decent team by the end of the season. I think so. And I think that they're going to be they're in the hunt. So that Buccaneers win saved them. But I think that they're number 22. Anyway, moving on to number 21. That'll be the Broncos. Going to drop down 3 spots. Denver, 7-8. Got a tough loss to the Raiders. If they won that game, they would be, tied with everyone now. It's looking very bad for them. They're going to need some craziness to happen. They're the worst standing that's not eliminated in the AFC right now. But the Broncos, you shouldn't. This team, they got a good, inconsistent defense. Sometimes they're lights out. Sometimes they're just mediocre. Sometimes they're not playing very well. But the offense, just way more inconsistent. This is just an inconsistent team in general. But that makes them dangerous, I think. This team could be any team, really. Well, not any team, but a lot of teams in here because they're a dangerous team. They're inconsistent. If Teddy Bridgewater is playing good, this team's going to be great. It's kind of weird that Teddy Bridgewater is an inconsistent quarterback as a veteran. You think he's just in between, but he is an inconsistent quarterback for this Broncos team. Anyway, let's move on to number 20. And yeah, Drew Lock's playing, but yeah. And anyway, moving on to number 20. That'll be the Philadelphia Eagles. Going to drop down a spot at 8-7. Like Philly, they're in a playoff spot right now, so they're the lowest team right now that's in a playoff spot. But the Eagles, kind of like the Falcons, they got a lot of easy games on their schedule, and they took advantage of it. They're 8-7, and if this team slides into the playoffs, I'm not going to take this team serious. I'll take them more seriously than the Falcons or the Saints or someone, or the Redskins, but the football team. But the Eagles are, just still not very good. They're in the hunt in a playoff spot, but I don't think this team will make the playoffs by the end of the season. I think we might see a collapse, but it's good to see them there at least at 8-7 and see them fighting. Anyway, moving on to number 19, which will be the Browns, dropping down 5. Browns at 7-8. Yikes, this Browns team. Baker Mayfield has lost them that last game, which is very unfortunate for Browns team because this team is so talented. It's very strange. Expectations got caught up to this team. I think so, and Baker Mayfield couldn't keep up with it. And I think this Browns team nearly eliminated right now. They're the second worst AFC team that's not eliminated. I don't think this team's going to make the playoffs this season. And they're going to have a lot of questions into free agency. Do they roll with Baker Mayfield for another season, or do they move on? Because I don't think Baker Mayfield is it for them. This is a very good defense. This is a very good, they need some receivers, but this is a great defense they have there in Cleveland. It's kind of unfortunate that they're falling off a cliff. Anyway, let's move on to number 18, which will be the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh Steelers have been what we thought they were all season long. They're jumping up to 7-1. They're in the mix. Without that tie against the Lions, they'd be 8-7. I don't even know what the tiebreakers would be at that point, but maybe that tie, some crazy things happen. Maybe the tie is useful for them. They finish 9-7-1. This team could be in a playoff spot, but I just don't know about the Steelers right now. Big Ben. I think the Steelers should be excited for free agency. Obviously, they're gonna have. It's gonna be a rebuild here in Steelers. Not a lot of Steelers fans are used to this, but it's gonna be fun to see what happens there in Pittsburgh. Let's move on to number 17, which will be the Dolphins, who are going to be jumping up 4 spots. Dolphins, man, 7-game winning streak. Don't even know how they've done it, but they've done it. 8-7. Jumping up 4 spots, they're in a playoff spot right now. This feels a lot like the team last season. They're in this playoff spot. Can they make it? Obviously, very similar to the Eagles and the Falcons. If this team makes the playoffs, I'm not going to take this team too seriously compared to some of these other teams. But they're in the mix right now, so you got to respect them for that. They're 8-7, playing decent football. Their defense is good. The offense, not very well. But, the Dolphins, if they make the playoffs, good for them. Will they do anything? But sitting at number 17, jumping up that 4 spots. Then number 16, we're going to have our first playoff tier from the NFC, playoff team from the NFC. 7-8 Vikings. They hung around with the Rams. It was closer than what the score thought, but in general, the Rams were the better team and got the win. But the Vikings at 7-8, some of these tough losses are going to come back to bite this team. I think in the end, they might not even make the playoffs. But right now, I do think that the best, the 7th seed in the NFC. I think they are the 7th seed. I think the 7th best team in the NFC, I'll say. But yeah, the Vikings playing decent football at the moment. I think that, they can slide in if they get. They have the Packers next week, so they don't need to win. I don't know if they make the playoffs, but I do think that they are the 7th best team. But we'll see what happens. Can the Vikings beat the Packers 2 times in one season? I doubt it, but we'll see. Anyway, let's keep moving on to number 15, which will be the Raiders. Not in at 8-7. Staying, we're not done with this in the hunt here. We have one more team, I believe. Yeah, one more team after this that's in the hunt. But anyway, the Raiders right now, I think, they're decent. They're playing decent football right now. And, they've turned things around. So you like that from Raiders. They just got to win against the Broncos, beat the Browns a couple weeks ago, barely. And Derek Carr is keeping this team alive. We said it in the past teams of this Raiders team just collapsed after good starts to the season. This team, they were collapsing. It was looking like so. And then they've turned things around. They've won 2 straight. They have a chance to make the playoffs. They got 2 tough games in a row, though. Colts and Chargers. So those are going to be tough games. But I do think that this team, if they can keep this up, can make a run into the playoffs. So that's my opinion on the Raiders at the moment. Anyway, moving on to number 14, which will be the Niners, a playoff team right here. The Niners at 8-7 got a loss to the Titans. Jimmy Garoppolo not playing the best, but a lot of people I think are kind of, I think getting at him too hard. I think he's never been like the best, and I think teams can use him. I think some of these teams can maybe use him for the future, but San Francisco, I think, will be just fine at 8-7. So, yeah, the Niners, I think they'll be fine. I think this playoff team, I don't see them really doing any damage in the playoffs, though. If they're going to play maybe the Rams in the first round, that's what they're matched up well against right now, a 3 versus a 6. I could actually see the Niners winning. They've proven that they match up well against the Rams, so I could definitely see them winning that matchup. But against anyone else like the Bucs, Cowboys, anyone, Cardinals, I don't see this team winning in the wild card weekend. So I think the only thing that can go right for this team with their matchup is the Rams. So hope for that if you're a Niners fan. But yeah, the Niners, they got a bright future in Trey Lance. Hopefully he can do good. But anyway, moving on to number 13, we're going to have the Ravens. 8-7, man. I feel bad for Ravens, though. It's tough right now. Tevin Huntley, you go for 2, nearly win the game. You go for 2 against, the Browns. You can't win the game. You get an onside kick, you can't finish the game. You go for 2 against the Steelers, can't win the game. Then you get blown out by the Bengals without your starting quarterbacks. So they just went from being one of my favorite teams in the AFC to rock bottom. It's really all about injuries. Lamar Jackson's out. He should be in soon. I feel bad for this Ravens team, though. They're such a high upside team, but injuries, have just killed them. And I don't even think they'll make the playoffs at this point. It should be interesting to see, but right now they're not in the playoffs. Hopefully they can make it. I feel for those Ravens fans. I want them to make it. I think they're definitely better than this ranking if they're healthy. But, yeah, without that, 13, jumping up 2 spots. And this is just relying on if Lamar Jackson's back. If he's not back, this team is a bottom team in the hunt tier. All right, anyway, let's move on to we're done with the in the hunt long tier right there. But anyway, let's move on to this playoff tier, and that's going to start out with the number 12 team, Chargers. Drop it down 3 spots, Chargers, you come off a tough loss to the Chiefs, and then you go play the Texans. You're thinking you maybe can blow out this team, and you get blown out. So, well, not blown out, but you lose pretty convincingly, 41-29. It's pretty easy to attack this team. You just run it basically up the gut, and you attack the throat of their defense, and they can't do anything. Hold on to that ball for a long time, and hopefully you get a couple breaks from Justin Herbert. This team relies on Justin Herbert basically getting in the zone. But I do think the Chargers, they're actually not in a playoff spot right now, which is shocking. But I do think this team is a dangerous team if you go into the playoffs. Very dangerous team. That's why I think they're a 2 seed. If you look at it, say the Titans play them in the first round. It's a very matchup-dependent team, though. If they're going to go up against the Patriots, I think they're going to get blown out. They play up against the Colts, get blown out. Play the Titans with Derrick Henry, they're going to get blown out. But if they're going to play the Bengals or the Bills or the Chiefs, they might have a chance, honestly, because, those teams aren't very run-heavy teams. So that's why I think this team's good. Texans decided to play physical against them, and it worked. That's the Chargers' weakness. But that being said, I don't think they're going to win the Super Bowl because they're very matchup-dependent. If they can go, if their road to the Super Bowl is the Bengals has a 2 seed, then the Chiefs, and then the Bills in the final round, they could make a Super Bowl. I'm not betting on them to make the Super Bowl even with that schedule, but they could. So it's interesting to see the Chargers. But at number 12, they're interesting to say the least. Anyway, let's move on to number 11. That'll be the Patriots. Dropping down 4 spots. You come off 2 straight losses. I've never been high on this Patriots team. A lot of people are putting them in their top 10s. The top 5s, actually, top 3 even. But, you lose to the Colts, and then you lose to the Bills. Again, a big loss to the Bills. So now you're at the 6th seed right now. I think you will finish at the 6th seed. But this Patriots team, I think Bill Belichick will turn things around. I think that they can finish things off this season, clinch a playoff spot, and who knows if he does good in the playoffs. So it should be interesting to see for the Patriots. Anyway, moving on to number 10, which will be the Titans. And the Titans, I think, are number 10, jumping up one spot. This is without Derrick Henry. If Derrick Henry's in, this team is a contender, but this is without him. He's coming back. Maybe he's a little bit rusty, but this is a dangerous team come playoff time. This team could win the Super Bowl. But without him, they're number 10. They're just a playoff team at 10-5. It's all about just finishing strong until the playoffs so you can get Derrick Henry back. You can get back to your roster. Very lucky that they're able to get this back, but congratulations to the Titans. I honestly could see the Colts winning this division. Here you could blow 2 games in a row and the Colts win it, but that was a big win over the Niners, and A.J. Brown is a big comeback, I guess, big coming back from injury, I guess. Anyway, moving on to number 9, dropping down 6 spots. What happened to the Cardinals? Ever since that Rams loss, what the heck? They did not play very well against the Rams on that game. Lost that. And then they go play the Lions, get demolished 30-12. And they play the Colts without their whole offensive line, and they can't win. You gotta be kidding me. They do have a playoff spot. This feels just like last season if you're the Cardinals. They started out very good. This season they started out even better, and they started to fall. I feel like a lot of people forgot about that in the beginning of the season. I guess me, myself, forgot about that. But anyway, Arizona, I do think, can turn things around. They got the talent. They got Kyler Murray. But, if they can play like they did the start of the season, the last 2 weeks, they're good, but things got to change. Cliff Kingsbury has got to change things up because at number 9, not playing very well. And then number 8, we have the Bengals. Going to be jumping up 5 spots at number 5. Bengals, at number 8. The Bengals, wow, this team just blew out the Ravens. What a win for them to just dominate Ravens. Joe Burrow didn't start him in fantasy this week, and I'm very disappointed because I lost that game in the playoffs. But anyway, Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, Joe Mixon. This offense is so explosive, and it should be interesting to see what happens come playoff time. But not putting them in this contender team for a reason. They're very close, but I'm not putting them in this contender team for a reason. I don't know how Joe Burrow's going to play in the playoffs. That's his first time. He's not experienced playoff player, but, is that an excuse? I don't know. I think that they can go to the Super Bowl, and I think they can, make a run into the Super Bowl. But I'm not quite sure at the moment. But it should be interesting to see what happens. Anyway, let's move on to the contender tier now. The last tier, we got 7 teams remaining. And let's get into it. Starting at number 7, it'll be the Colts. The Colts, at 9-6, completely turned things around from the start of the season. What is their winning streak now? They got a 3-game winning streak. They've won ever since that Titans game. They're 6-1, so very impressive. Their one loss to the Buccaneers, a fellow contender, they almost won. Very impressive by the Colts. They got the win over the Patriots, win over a few weeks back the number 1 team in the NFL, and the Cardinals. So without your offensive line, so this is really impressive by the Colts how they're doing this, and I think they're going to be a team that's dangerous in the playoffs. I don't think they will make the Super Bowl, but Carson Wentz also proving, if you need him in the final seconds of a game, he could go ahead and make a winning play for him. The rest of the game, you're just relying on Jonathan Taylor, who is a legitimate MVP candidate. But Colts, I do believe at number 7 is where they should be. Then number 6, though, will be the Bills. Josh Allen, the Bills, I think, have turned things around after that 2-game losing streak to the Patriots and Tom Brady. So, getting wins over the Patriots revenge game and dominating the Panthers. So it's pretty good for the Bills. They're going to have to finish with the Falcons and the Jets. It should be easy wins. They shouldn't have to lose those games. They should not lose those games at all. Those are 2 easy wins, but the Bills jumping up 2 spots at 9-6. I mean, this team starting to play like last season, and that's what you need come playoff time. I think this team definitely can make a Super Bowl run. It's interesting to see what will happen, but they're still far off. They still got some flaws. Anyway, moving on to number 5, which will be the Cowboys. A lot of people are going to be like, why do you have the Cowboys so low? I mean, I've always been low on the Cowboys according to people, but I think they just crushed the Washington football team. I have to say that was a very impressive win. But I'm still a little bit hesitant on I'm not hesitant. I mean, between these next 4 teams, it is very close. I could see, they're much higher than the Bills and the Colts, I think. But between the next 5 teams, it's very close. I could just shuffle this, and I could be pretty much happy with anything. But the Packers at number 5, the Cowboys, sorry, at number 5. I think that's where they're going to belong. I think this defense is impressive, but this is a very young team. And if they come playoff time, maybe they're going to choke. It's kind of a Cowboys thing to do in the playoffs. I think this team can go on a Super Bowl run, though. But I can definitely see this team losing. So we'll see what happens. But Cowboys, very impressive what they've been able to do there. And I'll be jumping up a spot. Anyway, moving on to number 4, which will be the Rams. Also going to be jumping up a spot at 11-4. I was very close between these 2 teams. I do trust the Rams more. I think they have a more experienced team in general. And I trust Matthew Stafford more than Dak Prescott in the playoffs, even though Matthew Stafford's been a little bit inconsistent. But Rams got saved by that Seattle game, got saved by the refs, and then beat the Vikings. So take it as you will. Good job by the Rams for 11-4. I don't think this team will. I think this team definitely can make a run, but the upside I think is higher for even the Cowboys at number 5. I think that Matthew Stafford, can he put together 4 games in a row without being inconsistent? It starts with these last 2 weeks. He's got to just be kind of more consistent. Other than that, this whole team is just insane. Matthew Stafford, surprisingly, is the last step they need to be the ultimate team to win. Anyway, moving on to number 4, which will be the Rams. 3, sorry. The Bucs at 11-4. I was tempted to put the Rams and the Cowboys above them. The only thing that kept me back is the Buccaneers have Tom Brady. And Tom Brady in the playoffs is going to be lethal. And I don't know if he wins the Super Bowl this season again, but I think he very much could and will. I think he might, but Bucs, very good. chance, I think, to make the Super Bowl at 11-4. It's very close between these 5 teams, but this defense is great. This offense is good. They're getting their weapons back, so I think the Bucs will be fine, but they did drop down a spot. Anyway, Chiefs. I'm just gonna throw up these 2 teams. This is very close. Chiefs and Packers. All right. Anyway, Chiefs jumping up to 2 spots at 11-4. This team continues to put up monster numbers and are just dominating the NFL. They are getting hot at the right time. It's very interesting to say. Wasn't this team 2-4 at the start of the year? I believe so. No, this team was 3-4. Yeah, 3-4. But then they won all of these games in a row. What is that now? Like 8 straight? For KC? Yeah, 8 straight. The only team that's even close to them is shockingly the Miami Dolphins. So, yeah, Miami, the only team that's actually close to them in that number. All the rest is low. But anyway, yeah, the Chiefs are this number 2 team. I do trust Aaron Rodgers more than, actually shockingly, Aaron Rodgers more than Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs. And I do trust the Packers defense more than the Chiefs defense. That's why the Packers, I think, are won, but it's very close. I think that these 2 teams can go either way. I do like the Packers more. So, take it as you will. These 2 teams, these 5 teams right here, I could see going either way. I might have even need to make a separate tier up there because the Bills and Colts I don't think line up with this, but I do think they're contenders. I just don't think they're ultra contenders like these 5 teams. But anyway, guys, thank you all for watching this video today. Hope you all enjoyed the content. I love making this for you all. And, yeah, may your team win next week. Anyway, peace out.